Hi folks, this is Claire from Arts Care. Today I'm going to show you how to make paper flowers to hopefully brighten up and decorate whatever space you might be in today. You could be at home, you could be in a hospital ward, wherever that might be. We all can't get out and about like we could, so we're just trying to make do with what we have in our surroundings. So I'm just going to move my camera up a little bit so I can see what I'm going to do better. Now today I'm making my paper flowers with tissue paper. Now not everybody will have tissue paper at hand. You could use newspaper, you could use magazine paper, or you can use other different types of paper. Over here I've made much bigger versions of the flowers I'm making today with paper that I use sometimes to cover tables with to protect them, and this paper is normally used to make masking tape, but today's purposes we're going to use tissue paper. And I happen just to have some nice flowery paper at hand, so that's helped. Now to make my flowers I normally use about 5 or 6 sheets of tissue paper, and I keep them roughly in a rectangular shape. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to speak at points, and then I'm going to work with the paper at points. And when I work with the paper I'm going to stay quiet because I think it interferes too much with the mic on my very basic technology that I have here, which is essentially my smartphone and a selfie stick tripod. So bear with me, and hopefully I can easily demonstrate how the flowers are made. Okay, so I have my six sheets of paper, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold them in a concertina fan style, and that essentially means folding one way, turning the paper around and folding the opposite way. So you want to make sure you apply a good bit of pressure along the crease. You want to really define those creases. That will help in the construction of the flower. And then you always have normally a little bit of waste here. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut that. And then just move that out of the road. So then what I have here is our folded paper. So then what we want to do here is we're going to fold that in half again. Try and find the middle there and give that another good fold along all the edges and the seams there to get a nice sharp edge. Now from here we want to design the shape that our petal is going to be. So in one I made earlier, I've cut it in a triangular shape, and that'll give you more of a spiky kind of flower petal. But this one here I'm going to do as a rounded edge. And you might need a little bit of help with this or assistance, so don't be afraid to ask if there's someone close beside you that can help you with this. That's fine, no problem. Sometimes it can be a little bit tricky. And if you're using tissue paper, is usually quite easy to cut through, but if you're maybe using a different type of paper, it might be a little bit tougher. And again, I've got a little bit of a messy edge here. Okay, so we've got this all nicely evened up, nicely cut. And then normally what I would do is I would usually secure the center with a pipe cleaner, but I don't have any pipe cleaners here today. and for everyone it's not something that you could easily access. So I'm going to use a little bit of tape instead, just to secure my center, and then I'm going to bring that back up so we've got a nice central edge. Now I'm right-handed, so I tend to use my finger and my thumb, and I'm pinching the back of that right down at the bottom, like so. And I'm keeping my light turquoise green tissue papers to the back, so that when I start to tease out the paper to create the flower, that I have the pink at the front and the green at the back, the turquoise bluey green at the back. So now what I'm going to start to do is I'm going to start to tease out each individual layer of tissue paper, and this is going to make quite a lot of paper rustling noise, so I'll probably keep quiet for a little bit while I do this and stop intermittently and explain what I'm doing. Okay, so you can start to see I'm teasing these out. I'm trying to draw them further and further towards each other so that the two sides start to meet in the middle. Just very gently keep teasing and keep teasing the paper. Now don't worry if at times, if you are using tissue paper and it tears a little bit, don't worry, we're never going to notice any of that once the flowers are complete. And like I say, you know, you can make these out of lots of different types of paper and use what you have to hand. You can be as creative as you want, really. So another thing that I want to talk about is creating stems for your flowers. So what I have here are quite simply kebab skewers, but you could use anything, you know. You could use you might have some gardening sticks out your back, or in your day centre, or in the hospital you might have some bits and pieces lying around from previous crafts and things like that that you could use. So I've just painted these green, and then what I'm going to do is, before I totally finish working with my flower, I'm going to put it up through the center, and again, whatever you have at hand, I'm going to use masking tape, but you could use a pipe cleaner if you wished, or some sellotape, or some string, or maybe an elastic band or something, you know, whatever you have, you know. And you can also make that part of your stem as well, you know. If you wanted to, you can make that more elaborate and paint it green or something if you wanted to. I'm just going to turn this a little bit around here, just so I'm trying to pull it together more centrally, and that will help us when we're finishing off the flower. Okay, so it's interesting trying to do this filming at home, because I have very noisy dogs in another room that are scraping at the door to try and get into this room to play with me. I have young neighbours next door who have just had a new trampoline delivered to their back garden, so it's like Christmas morning outside, so there's lots of children jumping around very excitedly. So I'm trying my best to keep this space quiet in order to do this workshop. But anyway, so I've got this attached here, and like I say, you could probably do this much more neatly if you have a bit more time. And then I'm just going to start bringing those bottom layers So what I'm doing is I'm bringing these two sides in towards each other as much as possible. And if they're struggling to stay put, don't worry, just use a little bit more masking tape. Like I said, when you've more time, you could almost add that as part of your decoration and make a bud or some leaves or something like that. So that's essentially our basic flower made, and what I'll do is, excuse the terrible camera work, I'm just gonna lift up a little bit and just show, you know, so you've got a nice stem. So here I've used a jam jar that you can use. You could also make your own vase. You know, you could find something, you could cut a piece of cardboard up and roll it into a cylinder and tape it, and that could hold your flowers. I also had a little bit of green paper here, which I created some leaves to add to the bottom of this vase, because we're working with such large scale flowers. And then over here I happen to have a little vase that kind of just did the job ideally, so I went with that. And as you can tell, these flowers, the good thing about these flowers is that you don't need to add water to them. They are long life flowers, so they might be able to decorate and really beautify a space for quite some time. Or if you're in healthcare, they can also be temporary, so they can be disposed of as and when required. So they kind of cover all bases, and hopefully you'd be able to find some paper that you can replicate this idea and just have a bit of a play and have some fun with it. You know, don't be worrying about it too much. Don't be worrying if you tear the paper and make a mess of it. You know, it's all just part of the crack, having a go and having some fun. Okay, folks? Well, that's the end of my first ever Arts Care video arts workshop. I hope you enjoyed that, and all being well, there'll be more to come. Okay, thank you.